Okay, great. A wise man once said, and this wise man is Nelson Mandela, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. I was looking in the room and I saw my former professor. He's sitting in the room, Dr. Shaw. You're welcome. And I was just thinking, in line with today's session, we have another great presenter who is going to come up front, and his name is Mr. Michael TICHAREVA. We have a session here which I think, after what has just been discussed around what's happening in Africa, we can use education as a tool to change the other parts of Africa and generate more actuaries within the continent. At present, we have more than 4,500 actuarial professionals within South Africa. As you can see, we can use that learning, that knowledge, and pass it on to our other counterparts in the other countries. I would like to welcome Michael TICHAREVA to the stage. Let's give him a round of applause as he comes through. Right. Welcome, Michael. Good.
Welcome. Wonderful.
Right. As Mike is setting up, Mike is a fellow of the Actuarial Society of South Africa and a fellow of the Institute of Actuaries. He was a BCom honors degree in actuarial science and an MBA from the University of Wits Business School. Michael has been a chairperson of the Banking Virtual Forum of the International Actuaries Association since 2016 and is a founding member of the ASA Banking Committee that he chaired from 2010 to 2017. And lastly, Michael is also a member of the Council of ASA and sits on the Education Board. He's also currently involved in the development of the actuarial education on the African continent on behalf of ASA. So over to you, Michael, as you take us through this journey.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. You saw me greeting this gentleman and this lady here. Thank you very much. That's what we do from where I come from. Today, I've heard so many speeches that have been given here, and all of them were to do with the technical stuff, the issues happening on the continent, the challenges that are there, and sometimes solutions were also given. But where is that? Where does all that come from? Where do the solutions come from? The education, the actuarial education. So that's what I want to talk about today. This speech is for a lot of you. Some of you are presidents of associations on the continents. Some of you are president-elects. You sit on council. Some of you are professors. And I'm really speaking to you and to the fellows who are practicing in the industry. You have got a role to play because you influence what happens from an industry perspective. So you can influence education. But if you do not participate, if you do not understand exactly what is happening, then nothing happens. Right. So that's why I said, after Louis and Simba said, speak, Mike, because I wasn't really going to speak. And then I agreed. I said, let's speak. And the topic today is, I want to talk about how we can accelerate actuarial education on the African continent. And this is with respect to accreditation of actuarial programs at universities. Why that topic specifically? This is actually how South Africa came to where it is right now. This is how I qualified. So I didn't come to South Africa. I went to a university where we were the first student, and I always say this all the time. We were the first students to do that actuarial science program. That was at National University of Science and Technology in Zimbabwe, in Bulawayo. As the first student, we had people like Andrew Gladwin. Some of you might have heard of him, one great actuary amongst us. People like Paul Akok, people like Douglas Owoto in Zim. They were coming to teach there, and they managed to get accreditation for that program. As a result of that, when we graduated, I came out with exemptions. That helped. Some of the subjects I ended up where I didn't get accreditation, I didn't get exemption on, I ended up writing those subjects because I had done them at college. It was as if I'm just repeating this, and I just passed those. So it helped to accelerate. And we are saying this is what we should be focusing on, right? This is what we should be focusing on the African continent. Before I move on to the next slide, you can move this slide now. Who is moving? Okay, I am supposed to do it myself. Sorry. Okay. Now, before I speak here, I've seen one article that says, and that article is from Zimbabwe. It was saying there is shortage of actuarial skills. It was written by the current president, Tafadzwa. I think it was Tafadzwa Chiduza. Then I said, okay, I think he's right. Then I saw another article from Kenya, and Kenya was saying there is oversupply of actuarial skills. So I got confused. You know, these are two articles written in the last 6 months. And I'll tell you my position. There can never be oversupply of actuarial skills. We are lacking innovation. We are not innovating. There is a lot of work that can be done by actuaries, and we senior actuaries sitting here, fellows and associates, are not creating the work for the students that are coming. So we blame ourselves for not doing that. So those two articles, different, written from different perspectives, but I don't believe we have got oversupply of actuarial skills. Why? IFRS 17, lack of resources. Pricing, you're talking of risk-based pricing, lack of actuarial skills. Everything you're talking of, you really need actuarial skills in there. Right, but anyway, let's go to current state. So what is the current state of accreditation? Not very good, right? The current state is that outside South Africa, the only university that is accredited by the Actuarial Society of South Africa is University of Nairobi. Even with that, only 2 subjects. Because there are 3 levels of accreditation: level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 has 3 subjects. Level 2 has got the next level of subject, I think about 4 or 5 subjects. Then level 3 starts to touch on actuarial risk management and the principles. Only University of Nairobi is accredited, only 2. Right. Where I went, remember I said I graduated and we were accredited and we were there. We lost that because of the inflation that Prosper was talking about. You know, I think we couldn't pay. So that university lost the accreditation as well. So that's what we have right now. University of Nairobi. They are trying now to do something to go to level 2. There is also another university, I think Strathmore University, which is also a very good university in Kenya, and I hope they'll start looking at this. Other universities, I've spoken to a number of universities in Tanzania, in Uganda, in Zambia, not so much Malawi because they are still they still haven't produced graduates yet. Zimbabwe, yes, I've spoken to universities in Zimbabwe. They're all at different stages, but they need help. They need help. They need help. The industry is not there. The fellows are not giving their hand. These universities can't do it on their own. And these are some of the challenges we are facing, and you see it on the next slide. Now, what are the implications of this current state that I'm saying is not a very good state? I will be checking my time, and I hope, all right. 20 minutes, all right. I'll be able to finish, don't worry. I'll be able to finish. So, with the current state, it means there is going to continue, there's always going to be slow progress towards qualification, and usually at a higher cost because these people may end up doing these exams over and over again, and a whole lot of things do happen. They, in the process, as students, may lose interest, so they won't progress any further because maybe they're finding it, maybe it's difficult, yet actually it's not. And I'm one person who is always going to walk around the room and say, actuarial science is not difficult. We have to provide the right tools. Anyone can do it and they can progress at the right pace. So I'm one person who has always been saying that, and I'm always criticized for it, but I'll continue saying it, right? Then we are losing very good, brilliant people to other industries, and that is what is happening because they end up just leaving the exams. And in most countries, people end up migrating, they end up doing something else, they end up really doing something very different, which means we have a reduced pipeline of actuaries, which we have to address, right? What are the benefits of accreditation? So if I have spoken in this slide on the current state and the implications of the current state, the next slide is talking about the benefits. So what are the benefits? If your university now has achieved accreditation, chances are very high that students are going to like to be at that university. Why? Because they're going to be there and the university is accredited by a professional board. Let's say it's the IFOA or ASA or any other major actuarial body. Therefore, it means they don't have to redo some of the subjects if they get the right mark. So that's great. Your university is going to have increased demand. When they know, the students know that I'm going to get exemption, which is what I did. So I'm going to always use myself. Geez, we would not sleep. We would make sure that you need to nail it. You need to get that mark that's required so that you don't have to redo this subject. And some of us, we went through a period when there were a lot of changes. Trust me, there were changes, the syllabus was changing, things were always moving, and sometimes if you don't meet the cut, you end up having an additional subject. So you had to do it. So it helps. It increases attention. Then faster progress towards qualification. I can't say I progressed fast, but I think it was better than I would have done if I didn't have accreditation. Increased pipeline for future actuaries, that's great. And the issue I spoke about, you may end up being able to retain actuarial professionals, which is great. Now, why also do we need accreditation? Now, for you to be accredited as a university, there are standards you need to meet. And for me, that's one big thing. Your standards of actuarial education are improved. Because at accreditation stage, you need to meet certain minimum standards. You need to maintain some quality of teaching, some quality of research. You know, typically you also have someone who is in charge of the accreditation program. They have to be reporting. So the standards just become better because now it's being monitored. You know, they normally say if it doesn't get measured, usually nothing happens as well, So accreditation does help. So it does help a lot. It means if programs have got gaps, you can improve on your program at your university to align it with the professional exam. It also means that you can improve your actuarial syllabus to map to the syllabus of the profession. And teaching and research, I've already mentioned that, and the increased oversight, I've already mentioned that. Now, this is happening. Borrowing from what's happening in South Africa, I think we've got a number of universities here. Borrowing from what's happening in South Africa, the universities here, I think there's 1 or 2 lecturers I've seen here, they are subjected to serious monitoring. So you get accredited now, 2.5 years down the line, you've got to come and present what we call a mid-term assessment. They check everything, things have changed, lecturers, what has happened to your program, what is actually happening. And then 5 years you have to be reaccredited, which means you have to go, you have to come again, produce all this big report. So that helps in general. So that's why I really think that we need this. So I'm saying, if it has worked in South Africa, it worked in one country at one university, where I went in some country, Zimbabwe, then it should work elsewhere. It should work all over. And it means you, the industry, these guys, they qualify, they say, now I'm qualified, I don't care anymore. No, that's not what I'm speaking about here. When you qualify, we still need you. We actually want you to come and help these universities, either teaching, whatever it is that you can do. So these are some of the things. If you come to help, you're trying to address the challenges that I'm putting there. Limited resources, difficulties that they find to employ fellows, high staff turnover. We see all of this. This happens. All the universities I've spoken to, all of them, they mention these as issues. Some of the universities have got limited track record, and then you also have some programs that have got gaps. They need to be upgraded so that they reach a stage or a standard where it can be accredited. And some of these things can be solved, and these are some of the solutions. But once again, with your participation. This cannot happen without your participation. Standardization of actuarial syllabuses, we are already looking at this. For example, I can give about 2 or 3 countries where this is going to be possible. We have got Zim, we have got 2 universities. They've gone a long way to try and standardize, but we also have a lecturer at one university in Zambia who also teaches at another university in Tanzania, who has taught at a university in Zim. he is looking to see if he can't start talking about standardizing the syllabuses of these 3 countries. It may take time, but he's trying to put influence and say, let's have the syllabuses and the teaching be standardized. So that when you go to Zimbabwe and you go to Zambia, when you go to Tanzania, the syllabus is broadly the same, 80% the same. And then it must be tailored towards the professional exam. So these are some of the things we are saying, let's try and do. Contribution of industry. That's what we need. Industry, regulators, everyone. Local associations, presidents, president-elect. You don't just sit in that row. It's not a nice row. If you sit there and you do nothing, you have got to be in that row and actually do something, After your term, you say, we did this. So that's what we're trying to see. Work with the universities, work with everyone. Senior actuaries. And then one major thing is accreditation policies. The major associations probably need to look at some of the accreditation policies and see whether there is room to improve, there is room to be accommodative, and that's something that must be happening. I know Actuarial Society has looked at this, of South Africa has looked at this, still looking at it. I can't say what the outcome is likely to be, but Giles and other guys here know that there is a process there, just to look at are there areas where we can address. So actuarial associations around the world need to look at this. It is a good tool. Accreditation is a good tool. Right. Then some statistics. Pipeline. You were complaining, lack of skills, if it's 17, I don't believe. I think we've got a lot of people. Kenya is saying we are enrolling 1,200, 1,400 students every year in their country. And they are graduating about 800 to 1,000 people graduating. We have got Zimbabwe, I think in 2023, they probably have got close to 100. That's not an exact number, who are enrolling now into actuarial programs in the country. And then you have got final year people graduating. The final year number is always less. Some people really drop out. Zambia has got the same thing since 2023. They've got 100 people who have enrolled. But currently, because of the previous enrollments, they've got about 30. Uganda now has 120 people enrolling into the programs since 2023. 2023, about 20 are going to graduate. Then I also have these tables. So I've got these tables of just 2 universities, Makerere University in Uganda and National University of Science and Technology in Zimbabwe. Never mind that the tables are not matching, right? So Makerere University has been increasing enrollment, like I gave already in the previous one. They've been increasing their enrollment, and we are likely to see more graduates coming through. You can see from the numbers 2021, 2022, 2023. Same is happening at the National University of Science and Technology. So I'm in touch with lecturers of these universities. So we are always talking and we are saying, what are we supposed to do? We need to have people towards at least qualification, at least associate level, So let's see your numbers, let's see how we can help you. So this is what is happening. This is all I could get, but we are always busy talking to all the other universities as well. So this is what we have. I can have questions, but I will emphasize, before I stop, I am going to emphasize the need for the industry to be involved. Do one thing, just find one thing that you can do. You're a fellow, there is somewhere where you can help. If you're a regulator sitting in here, there is somewhere you can help. If you're a president of an actuarial society somewhere on the continent, there is something you can do, and just one thing, just pick one thing. One thing, that's not too much to ask. This is what I'll emphasize, and this is what my talk was all about, and I can say we can have questions. There is, I think, about 4 minutes, if I am not mistaken, for questions. Thank you very much. There is nothing else. It's really the discussion we can have, educating the future actuary. I could say a lot more, but we don't have time. Let's have questions from the floor. Thank you very much.
If we could just have some of the roving mics, we do have questions up here up front.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. I think your discussion is part of our discussion in Victoria Falls concerning the same topic, if you still remember. I mean, I agree with you in part, because the success of the program at NAST consisted of corporate support in 2 ways. The first being that some of the courses which had to be taught by qualified actuaries resulted in a company, I don't know what I can name it, it was Old Mutual, flying actuaries from Harare to Bulawayo to teach the students. That was one. The second, that the support that the same company offered was to give money for subvention. 50% of their salaries had to be supported by the corporate world. And I think South African universities also are trying to imitate that. Now, what you discover in other countries, and I've been involved in Kenya, in different countries, that is lacking in those countries in terms of supporting actuarial education, both from the government point of view and from the corporate point of view. And that, I think, is not about us accrediting them, but it is about the possibility that they can really realistically get that accreditation beyond level 1, where you need FASA or members accredited with actuarial societies or who are qualified to teach. And I think that is an aspect that you, if you are involved, must really be talking about. How can, in those countries that you are mentioning, the corporate world help, one, to have the qualified actuaries in those countries participating, and two, to help the salary level so that those who are qualified and teaching don't leave education to the private sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question?
I think we will probably only have time to answer that one question. Michael, seeing you have 1 minute left.
Okay. So I'm not going to take long to answer him. I've been allocated 20 minutes to speak here. So all the issues you are raising are definitely relevant, and those are the issues we are saying let's engage on, and then we can give you the experiences of other territories, what they have done. And we are saying let's also form a network from different universities, different associations where we are always constantly talking about things, because those are critical, those are the ingredients. So those are like the solutions, what needs to be done. That's really the answer to that, because it can take a day for me to answer. So I still have 52 seconds.
Any closing remarks in those 45 seconds, Michael?
Look, all I can say is that all the challenges we face can only be addressed and solved if we all get involved, right? The profession we are finding today, we found it as a result of the work of those who came before us. So you do something. You come up, you raise your hand. That's all I can say. Mine is a call for action. It's a call for action. This is why I was excited to come and speak here. Call for action. Let's all act together. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Right. Let's give Mike a round of applause. Thank you so much, Michael. Right. An actuary once said, an actuary that is only an actuary is not an actuary. So we've all heard Michael's cry for help. I believe Michael's inbox will be very full very soon as we all help and assist in growing this profession. Thank you so much, Michael. Right. Just moving on, we have a special program as part of the day today. It's called a comfort break. We're now going into a 15-minute comfort break, 15-minute leg stretch. Let's be back here by, let's say, 25 minutes past, so we kick off with the last two sessions of the day. Thank you so much.